Hello. Welcome to 420. Let's get high. My name is Dovid B. Timeless. I am a Jewish mystic, and I invite all questions. And let me begin today with a letter, a message that was sent to me. I'm very appreciative of, and it said is from Carol and Elise, and they just said something very interesting, which was they said that from this transmission, they get the feeling of love, fear, and contentment, which I just thought was so interesting that I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit. And you know, in Torah, many things are capsulated into threes, and there's a reason for it, because one is a point and two is a line. You know, you got a point at both ends. But three is a triangle. That's the first time things like sort of really come together. So many things happen in threes. And these particular three things are very, in a sense, well known, particularly love and fear. Love and fear is what comprises the dot, the third eye, knowing. We know either we love it or we fear it. These are really the only two explanations or conclusions from what we're thinking about. You meet someone, you're thinking about them, and either you're going to like them, love them, or you're going to fear them. You're not going to hate them, but love is like what opens the person up so we can give. And fear is what holds us back. So we're thinking about a person, about an opportunity, we're thinking about everything. But the conclusion needs to be knowing. So what do you actually know? You know, as a conclusion of all one's thinkings. And in a sense, we think with our eyes and our ears. And, we see things, we hear things, we think in vision, we think in words. But finally, we know something, and that's the nose. The nose knows. Because it's sort of like what smell is. Well, you can think, it's something, and you can hear what it has to say, but when you smell it, you know it. And there was this, Billy and Johnny, see, and Billy tells Johnny he's got some wise pills, make you wise, you'll know things. So sell them to you for 10 cents. So Billy buys them, 10 cents, good deal. And he starts eating them, and he says, wait a minute. These aren't wise pills. These are, this is rabbit shit. So Billy says, see, you're getting wise already. And that's sort of like it is, when you smell it, when you taste it, then you know what it is. Until then, it's all, so that's the experience. That's what knowing is. Knowing is the experience. And if you're thinking about something, you can't necessarily, but you can, you can extrapolate, if you're thinking of going out, well, what's going to happen? How late are you going to be? What's the ramifications for the morning or for the people you know? These are how we think. Either we love it or we fear it. And it's interesting that the information that I'm giving over, that's what it's based on. It's based on love and fear. the Jewish people, one of the oddities that we do, amongst many oddities, is the way we pray in the morning. We wear tefillin, and tefillin are these two leather boxes, and we put one on our left arm next to our heart, and the other between our eyes, on on our head, between the forehead and the head, you know and the box on the arm is just one box, but the one in the head is four different compartments, and you can see it. They're divided. You can see it on the box how they're divided, and the reason for this is there's four parts of the brain. They're the two hemispheres of the brain, and then the two parts of the third eye, which those are those gates of love and fear. And this is also the way that we're supposed to interface with the Creator. Both things need to be present. Like if one just loves the Creator, you're not getting it. If you just fear the Creator, you're not getting it. It's love and fear. It's sort of like what one wants to, ingrain in a child. That I love you, but you need to fear me. Because, only if you fear me will you fear doing something wrong. But if it's just love, 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 and you can do whatever you want, then you're just, you're a child. Certainly to God, we're all children. So we need to have some sort of confine in our, in the way that we are. And that confine is that, whatever the confine is, we're afraid to go beyond that confine. And love, on the other hand, even in love, there's a confine, but the confine is like giving too much. And so one has to be appropriate in how they disperse their love. That can be either, it can be, dispersed in a way that's appropriate. You don't want to give too much. You don't want to give too little. You want to do what's appropriate for the situation. And that's really an act of love, that you take the time to say, what's really appropriate here. I want to give. I want to love. What's really appropriate. And then the third thing, contentment. So if love is on the right side and fear is on the left side, contentment's in the center. And love and fear talks about a lot. It doesn't really talk about contentment. And I just thought it was a very interesting term and a very interesting way to look at things, because no one has the right to say this is the way you got to look at it. It's just knowledge, and how people understand it and the kind of conclusions they come up to is, they're right, to be how they want. But the idea of contentment, and we don't hear a lot about that these days. No one's content. How can you be content when there's so many billionaires out there, that millionaires are middle class and the rest of us are just poor? Who can be content? They're just starving us and driving us out of, anything that has any goodness in it. But when a person recognizes that we're not really here all alone, that God, the Creator, is everywhere all the time to everybody, and God certainly sees what's going on to such a degree that when the world was about to spin out of control, God sent us Dovid, a word in Hebrew which means respect. And in order to save the world. And as we recuperate from this, there needs to be a huge change in what we value and how we value. Because in the end, what do we all want? We just want to be content. That's a normal human desire. Not to be the richest person in the world, not to subjugate other people, but really just to be, like, there's a saying in Hebrew, "Simcha b'chalko," means being happy with your portion. And in the end, what do we all need? Well, first of all, we need a place to live. It's just really important. And the reason that money is so overvalued, everyone needs money and a lot of money, it's because that there's not housing. And if people had housing, you wouldn't need money so much. I mean, you could barter for things, for food, for the transitory things. That's pretty easy to do. But the house is the big problem. The house, the energy, it's all one thing. You need not just a house. I mean, you need plumbing, you need a way to eat, a way to sleep. And everyone in this country deserves that. For all the money we have and all the forces we have all around the world and the billions of dollars that it takes, the people get shit. Go live out on the street. And because that's the way to squeeze the money thing. Everyone's going to run after money because they don't want to be on the street. Understandable. Being on the street ain't cool at all. It wears a person down and makes a person crazy. And then it becomes even harder to find stability. And eventually it just kills the person, except for the very strong. And, that's kind of, might is right kind of thing. I mean, it's a very primitive way to live. And that we should be forcing our populace into that is truly unforgivable. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And but the answer to many things is to give everyone a place to live, and that can't be foreclosed on, that you don't have to pay rent on. That is your place. You have a place to be in this world, in this country. And our country is such a wealthy country that everyone has participated in whatever way they did to build this country, and many people for many generations. And we certainly deserve places to live. I mean, this is just so important. And to recognize that is kind of like a bottom line. If the people don't have anywhere to live, then nothing else in this country should work. No corporation, the stock market should all shut down until they give someone somewhere to live. You can start it up again, start making money. Okay, it's a radical idea, but world is built on radical ideas. The free radical is what gets into the atom and makes it start to disintegrate. Go into half lives. And the free radical does that. And because of the free radical, that's why we have diversity in the world. I don't mean diversity in people, but just all the different minerals we have and animals we have. This all comes from the free radical, which breaks down atoms, and then by that causes diversity. Things have to break down so things can grow. And we have a time now where things needed to break down because there's just too many rich people in the world who own too much, who want too much, and who don't know what to do with everything they have, so they're going up into outer space. While the people who help them get that, don't have where to live. And people aren't starving so much. There's plenty of food, but not having a place to live is just a really dangerous thing for our society. And this is and contentment is what we're talking about. That contentment is when you have enough. So without a place to live, a person can't be content. And so and that's what everyone should have, contentment. Like maybe you'd like more. That's cool. That's cool. Have more, but at least you should be content that you have a place to live, and and just a stable thing. You don't have to worry someone's going to come and kick you out of your house, and you can do things. Maybe get another place, or but everyone should have a place. I mean, this should just be bottom line for our country. And the it's not, people have this idea of being happy, like that's kind of the purpose of life. It's not being happy, it's being content. Because, really the happy thing is in life is certainly interaction with other people. That often makes us happy. But most of all is our work, because work is not dependent generally on other people. And everyone has a work to love. And God made a work for everyone to love. And that's being free, is free to do your work. And if you have a place to live that you can go home to at night, then it's easy to do what you love instead of being under the thumb of some corporation that's going to spit you out as soon as they don't need you anymore. And you have to hope that you made enough money so you can survive into the future, which is just a really mean kind of situation, a mean way, just a mean way to treat people. But if there were more people who could just do what they loved, then the corporations would have to treat people nicer, because otherwise no one's going to want to work for them. This is a time where things can really change dramatically. And certainly, if it had been the will of the strong arm people, that they just would have made chaos and built their side of militia people and terrorized the rest of us. And thank God that didn't happen. And it was very close to happening, but it didn't happen. And now we have the opportunity to be visionaries and to really look to a future that's really going to serve everybody. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I think schools, I think that education should be done online. I think that's really a smart thing to do. And then I think, but it shouldn't, it doesn't have to be a particular time. And I think that then there should be community things where children can come together. They can do sports, they can do art. You don't have to integrate it into, your schoolwork in a particular place with a playground. I mean, it's very stifling. And I think, and not everyone, needs to go to college. When I got out of the Navy in 1965 and thought about going to college, one of the things that college said is that if you want to make money, college isn't the way. College is about being educated. You want to make money, be an electrician, be a plumber. Even today, that's the way to make money. They make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're in extreme need. And there are people who love doing that work. I met a plumber once, and he said that he wasn't happy unless he was knee deep in shit. To him, that's happiness. But that's not the reason why he's doing it. He's doing it because he loves his work. See? And our work doesn't always, pay the bills or get us the kind of attention that we want. But if that's the thing that we can do, and that's the thing we love to do, then that is the path to wisdom. Doing what you love, and you will become wise. Because if you love it, you'll see many things in it that other people just can't see. And it could be from sweeping the street to making some gadget to painting a picture to, mowing the lawn, growing food. I mean, there's a billion things to do out there. And I think one of the cool things that we're expected to do in life, and really life used to be like that. Not everyone went to college, and not everyone, ran into the future, but rather people took their time, and people, traveled, did different things. There's a story or a writer, Thomas Wolfe, not the recent one, but there's one back in the, 100 years ago. And the recent one, he's passed away already, it was Tom Wolfe, I think. But Thomas Wolfe, so he wrote this book called Look Homeward, Angel. And the angel was this guy comes through this town and he sees these sculpted angels in the graveyard. and he falls in love with the angels. And to him, that's the town. The town is the angels. And Thomas Wolfe, because he wrote so many autobiographical things, that they saved his house in in North Carolina. I can't think of the name, but I don't know. It's the capital. It's a big city in North Carolina, up in the hills, and yeah. So he kept his house and all the things because he wrote about this stuff. And then I don't know, about 20 years ago, someone lit it on fire, and that was that. But the point of all that. What is the point of all that? I'm not quite sure I remember. But anyways, so yes, about working in what you love, and so that's where contentment comes. It doesn't come from having more. We see that people who have more are not content. People who have everything are not content. People who are happy 24 hours a day are not content. And no one is happy 24 hours a day, because that's not the purpose of life. You're happy, you're sad. I mean, get used to it. There's so many things that happen to us, that happen inside our body or outside of us, or things that people say and that we think that affect our moods and our body. And I mean, there's, we're not supposed to be happy all the time. It's like, I was in the Navy, and I sailed the Pacific Ocean, and they have these huge waves out there, and all day long, and you're walking like this, like you're walking on the walls. They're actually called walls, or called bulkheads, yes. And it's funny, walking down, you look at the other people, look like they're, you look the same way. And when you get off the ship, you can't stand up straight because you're used to this motion. And all of a sudden, you're something that's just steady, but life is more really about the ocean than it is about the land. It's about constantly recognizing that we're changing and we're moving and we're going into different parts of life and different cycles of life. And life is really something. Yet what comes after is even more so, as it says that if you live in this world for 1,000 years, when you leave it, it's like one day. And our memory lasts like one day. People remember us, they're sad, they put some flowers, and life goes on. That's how life is. But the next realm we go into is so exciting, we're happy to say goodbye. And it's hard for people to understand all of this and to appreciate it, because, as one person said, if God put, all the knowledge and the truth in front of us and put all the lies in a book, life would be no challenge. But instead, the truth are in books and the lies are out in front of us. And as a result, life is actually, it's just very interesting, and we should be more apt to live it, to be happy, to be sad, to take chances. If we all did that, frankly, probably everyone would be nicer to each other, because you don't do that all the time. But when you do it, you kind of want your brother or sister, not looking after you, but recognizing, acknowledging that that's a person's time in life where they need to do that. And people shouldn't make fun of them or make it, difficult for them. And this is what we're supposed to do in life. We're supposed to experiment in life. And a lot of the experiment has to do with pleasure, because pleasure is life. So we want pleasure. You get too much pleasure, you get fat, you get whatever, you get sick. But happiness just comes and goes. The real thing is contentment. Anyway, so I wanted to say that about that, and thank you for that note. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about tonight. Begins the holiday of Purim, a very cool holiday, a one-day holiday that says after we go into 1,000 years of woman, the only holiday that will remain will be Purim. And Purim is the only book in the 24 books of the Torah that never mentions God's name. And the heroine, the heroine of it is Esther, and Esther is connected to the word Hester, which means hidden, and it refers to the time in history, our time, which is known as the end of days, when everything is hidden, We really don't see miracles, prophets, God, as though that we're just destroying the world. But that's when the real story happens, when because God wants to be known and low. And this is how God does it, is by disguising, being here, but no one can see. And one of the things we do on Purim is we dress up so no one is, really what they appear to be. And another thing we do on Purim is not everyone does it, and you don't have to do it. The rabbi suggested, but not everyone can do it, is to get drunk and to eat a really good meal, to give charity, and to give a package of food to a friend. These are all the things we do on Purim. And I'll try to encapsulate Purim very quickly. That happened in Persia, and it begins with a party celebrating the fact that the Jews, the 70 years of prophecy, Jews would go back to Israel, didn't happen. But the truth was that it happened right then. That was the beginning. And what happened is that they got so drunk, it went on for like 6 months, They got so drunk at one point, the king at the end, when he was just happy, he said, bring the queen out only with her crown. Bring her out naked, or she should come out naked so everyone can see how beautiful she is. And she declined, and he killed her. Later, he started feeling bad. Maybe, he shouldn't have killed her. He didn't know what to do. So his servants suggested him, get a new queen, bring all the beautiful women here. And so Mordecai had it was truly his wife. That's a whole story, but how they did this. But anyways, he had Esther. He took Esther to the palace. In the end, she becomes the queen, but doesn't tell the king what her lineage is. Refused to do it. And at one point, Mordecai hears, he knows all the languages, so he hears these two guards arguing, talking about how they're going to kill the king. So he tells on them, and they find out, and they kill him. They hang them, and they write it in the book of the Chronicles. And then the king raises up Haman. And he's the villain of this story. It's this really bad dude, and everyone has to bow down to him. But Abraham says, no deal, I'm not bowing down. So they pointed out to Haman, see, what's going to happen here. And Haman makes a decree when he finds out he's Jewish to kill all the Jewish people in the whole 127 countries that Persia rules at that point, from India to Ethiopia. And so Mordecai convinces Esther to go in and ask the king. But of course, if she goes in to the inner chamber, you only go in if you're asked. And she's not being asked, and maybe she'll get killed. No, she get killed. She has to do it. She goes and she does it, and the king reaches out his scepter, can't say it, to her, and she touches it. And what do you want? Come to a meal with me and Haman. Come to my meal, make a meal for you. For you and Haman, bring Haman. So he brings him, what do you want? So he says, tomorrow I'll tell you, bring him again for another meal. In the meantime, Haman goes home and decides, Mordecai can't take it anymore. So his wife says, why don't you just make a big gallows and go tomorrow morning to the king and ask to be able to hang Mordecai before the time of Purim. They made like a lottery and decided what day. So it's like a year in advance almost, months and months in advance. So just kill him now and kill the rest later. So that's what he decides to do. And he goes there. But in the meantime, and this is the miracle of Purim, is he couldn't sleep. So they opened up the book of Chronicles, read what Mordecai had done for the king. And the king asked, do you get anything? No. So the king says, who's out in the hall? And it was Haman waiting to hang Mordecai. So he asked Haman, what would you do for someone you wanted to honor? So Haman thought that the king's talking about him. So he says, you put the crown on his head and the king's coat. on him and put him on the king's horse and ride him around the city, saying, "Here's what the king does to someone king wants to honor." So the king says, "Great idea. Go do it to Mordecai the Jew." So he does it. He comes home. He's very fallen, and his wife tells him, with the Jews, when you start to fall, you fall. And just then they knock on the door. Time to go to the meal with the queen and the king. And he goes, "What do you want, Esther?" So Esther says, "Look, I wouldn't complain if you just sold us or made us slaves, but to kill us, me and my whole people." He says, "Who would do this?" He says, "The Russia, the wicked Haman." And the king gets so upset that he leaves, goes out in the garden. And Haman falls on the bed of the queen, begging for his life. And the king comes back and he sees that Haman now is trying to seduce his wife, got his head on the bed. So they hang Haman, they hang his sons. When it comes around this time that they had decreed, because you can't take away the decrees, they made a decree that the Jews couldn't defend themselves. And they did, and it was a big party, and everyone said, sent gifts of food to each other. And yeah. So that's and people are just very happy, and Purim has a lot to do with being beyond logic, and it's also the end of the year. The new year for the Jewish people begins in the next new moon, which in that in that month is Pesach. So anyways. Anyways, if those, have a happy Purim. It's a good time to have a drink, and please feel free to go to my website, dovidhouse.com, and you get my book, Sex: A Metaphor to History, Trump 777, and the 1,000 Years of Woman. And other books also. I also have a course, Kabbalistic Tarot on Udemy. And anyways, thank you for watching, and see you later.